We've been talking a lot about how important it is for a squad to stick together. But that's never more true than when life gets a little chaotic, and it does that sometimes, right? Have you ever gone ice skating, roller skating, or maybe rollerblading? Sometimes life can feel as out of control as you probably felt the first time you put on a pair of skates. If you've never skated before, here's a tip. Don't try to do it while holding a friend's hand. This might seem like a good idea, but it's not. One person is in the groove skating along when out of the blue, the other one is pulling you both down. Not only is it uncomfortable, but trust me, everybody nearby is watching you struggle together. In our friendships, we tend to stand or fall together, sometimes literally. Whether you were roller skating or just walking down a flight of stairs, has a friend ever tried to trip you up? Other people can trip us up, which is fine when the results are funny and only slightly painful, but sometimes people can trip us up in more important and destructive ways, like when we are influenced to make poor decisions, or maybe adopt another's negative attitude or perspective, or change our beliefs or values to imitate someone else's. Sometimes people can trip us up, and sometimes we can trip others up too. Our relationships with each other can feel like a losing war with gravity. We pull each other down or let ourselves be pulled down instead of helping each other stay standing. But what if our relationships felt less like a roller skating fail and more like some of these? Those are some major dad wins, right? Wouldn't it be amazing if you could trust the people around you to have your back, to look out for your best interests and intervene when you're in trouble, and that they could trust you to do the same for them? Today, we'll finish our journey through the book of Ephesians and our conversation about how God's family is supposed to work when it's working at its best. We're going to look at Ephesians chapter 6, where Paul had one final word for the Jesus followers in Ephesus. Paul reminded them that if they were going to stand strong in their faith, they were going to need some protection. Paul talked a lot about protection from our enemy, but what do we need protection from? How does our enemy attack us? We might need protection from doing something dangerous or destructive or unwise. We might need protection from experiencing hopelessness, fear, or loneliness, or maybe losing or walking away from our faith in Jesus. In the Greco-Roman world of the first century, when Paul was writing this letter, Rome had conquered much of the world. There were Roman soldiers everywhere. And since they were the invaders and conquerors, most people weren't huge fans of the Roman soldiers. For early Christians, Roman soldiers were disliked for even more reasons. The Roman government had played a role in Jesus' crucifixion, and the Roman soldiers were actively imprisoning, threatening, harming, and even killing followers of Jesus. So with that in mind, Paul did something interesting. He used the imagery of the Roman armor, an image early Christians would have associated with their enemy, to tell the church they needed some armor of their own. But it wasn't the kind of armor that they might have expected. We will talk about those various pieces of armor tonight. Paul told us to put on every piece of this armor. Imagine what would happen if we were all in a battle but had forgotten some or all of our armor. Even the best trained armies wouldn't survive very long without protection. If you're running around with just a belt and a helmet and I'm next to you with only my shoes and a sword, we don't stand a chance. If we're going to stand strong, we all need all of our armor. If you've ever read Ephesians 6, you may not have noticed, but the armor of God doesn't say anything about protecting our backs. It's interesting. Maybe that's because we were never meant to go into battle alone. Paul asked his fellow Jesus followers to pray for him. He knew he needed his squad. And remember, this isn't a letter written to just one person. It's written to a whole group of people. None of Paul's instructions can be fully put into practice without a community. Paul is calling us to stand strong in our faith. And if we want to stand strong in our faith, no matter what our enemy throws at us, we can stand strong together. I know for a lot of our families, 2020 has been a battle for a lot of different reasons. So what does it look like to stand strong together? I'm looking forward to talking more about that tonight at 7 o'clock at the church. I hope you can join us then.